Hey guys, it's me Kiana and welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title of this video, we are going to be doing my June wrap up. In the month of June, I read 10 books. This is the most books I have read at all this month, and I read 2 graphic novels. The rest I have physically here with me. I would say was a pretty good reading month. I did end up DNFing 1 book, but since there are so many books we have to talk about, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. The first book I read this month, I was supposed to actually read last month, but I just carried it on to my June TBR, and that was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 2 in the Court of Thorns and Roses series that takes place 3 months after the ending of A Court of Thorns and Roses. Farrah is dealing with the PTSD of what has happened underneath the mountain, and now Rysand has called in his bargain that 1 week a month she has to go stay in the night court with him and all of that. I honestly love this book so much. I haven't read this book since like 2017, so I forgot a lot of stuff that has happened, but I'm so happy I decided to do the reread of this. This was of course a 5 out of 5 stars, and this is of course my favorite book in the series, so I'm really happy I decided to do a reread of this. The second book I read was Lumberjanes Volume 8, Stone Cold. I gave this a 3 stars. This is basically the girls now have to figure out why the Zodiac cabin has turned into stones. Like, who has turned them into stones? And now the goddess Artemis, she is back, so they think it was her that had done it, but it was really someone else. We get introduced to more mythical creatures. I did enjoy it. It wasn't that much, so that got a 3 stars. The third book I read, of course, was another book I was supposed to read in May, but I didn't, so I just carried it on to my June TBR, and that was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is my second time reading this, and this is the first book in the Ember in the Ashes quartet. And in this book, we follow 2 different people, Laia, who is a slave, and Elias, who is a soldier. But Elias wants to basically desert the military and be on the run, and Laia is a slave who has joined the resistance to try to figure out how to get her brother out of jail. So Laia ends up going to Elias's school and being his mother's slave to basically get intel for the resistance, and Elias has to go through basically 4 trials to either determine is he going to become the next emperor or the next Bloodstrike. I absolutely love this. The first time I read it, I wanted to jump into the second book after, but I wasn't in the mood, and I have forgotten a lot of stuff that has happened in the first book, so I'm really happy I have read this. This was a 4 stars. When I first read it, it was a 5 stars, but now that I reread it, a couple of things did piss me off. There was moments that it was just too much, and then moments when it was too little, but I did enjoy this. It was a 4 stars. I am looking forward to reading A Torch Against the Night in July. The 4th book I read, I am so happy to have read this. I bought it last month, and that was The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is the first book in the Elder's Curse trilogy, and in this book we follow Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood while they are in Europe, and they're basically on vacation, but then Tessa Gray comes to visit Magnus and basically says he has to disband the cult that he made as a joke 300 years ago. But instead of someone taking it as it was, as a joke, they turned it into something real and have humans worshiping basically Magnus's father. I did not see the twist that came with this until I read that chapter, until I got to the part, and then I was like, oh shit. I absolutely love this book. This book was a 5 out of 5 stars, and I cannot wait for the second book because I know it's going to be as amazing as the first one. I think Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu work amazing together, and I'm so happy I have read this. The 5th book I read, I did end up DNFing, and that was The One by Kiera Cass. This is the 3rd book in the Selection series, and I just couldn't with it anymore. I ended up DNFing it 43% of the way through, and it was for the fact that it was the same thing that happened in the second book that made me not want to continue on with the series. Like 3 years ago, it was basically America. Okay, do I choose Aspen? Okay, do I choose Maxon? Oh, if I choose Maxon, no one's gonna like me as queen, and it got too much to deal with, so I ended up DNFing this book. I am not going to continue on with the series. I already gave away book 1, 2, and the 4th one, and I'm just not going to carry on, so bye. The 6th book I read was Rat Queens Volume 6, The Infernal Path. I gave this book 4 stars. Rat Queens was my favorite series. My favorite graphic novel series, of course, after Saga, and I did enjoy this. It did get confusing because it has been a really long time since I have read the other 5 volumes. They are taking a break right now from like the series, but we follow the same group of girls. They are now trying to help, I think it was Hannah's boyfriend, trying to get his child back and all of that. I did enjoy it. It was okay, like 3.5, 4 stars. The 7th book I read was The Wicked Deep by Shara Earnshaw, and let me just say, like I said in my book haul, which you guys will see next week, why did I wait forever to get this? This is basically Hocus Pocus, and we are in Sparrow, Oregon, and 200 years ago, 3 sisters, Aurora, Marguerite, and Hazel, came, and people claimed them as witches, and so they were drowned at their little lake. And every year between June 1st and June 21st is called the Swan Season, because the 3 sisters come back, they take over the bodies of 3 teenage girls, and they end up killing boys to basically get their revenge on what has happened to them. Again, with this book, I did not see the plot twist coming, and when it happened, I really put my book down and I was like, oh shit. Absolutely love this book. This book was a 5 out of 5 stars, and I will be doing a book review on this very, very soon, so look out. The 8th book I read, I absolutely loved it too, and that was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McInnes. And this basically follows the first son of our first female president, Alex Claremont Diaz, and he basically has this rivalry going on with Prince Harry of the United Kingdom. And at Prince Harry's brother's wedding, the two basically get into a fight and they knock over the 7th-tier wedding cake. So now it's in crisis mode for both of them. That Alex has to go to London for 2 days to basically make a fake friendship with Harry to try to get like everyone to believe that they are friends when they really aren't. Then the relationships started coming. I don't always read adult romance, which this is, but I absolutely love this. This is the 2nd adult romance book I have read. I have loved this. I fell in love with Alex. I fell in love with Henry. I fell in love with their relationship, the family aspect, that no family is entirely perfect. You know, some parents don't know how to be there for their kids. Some parents are socially awkward with their kids. And it was just amazing. This was, of course, a 5 out of 5 stars and one of my now favorite books. Only 2 books left, guys. The 9th book I read was to finish out a series, and that was Immortal Reign by Morgan Rhodes. This is the 6th and final book in the Fallen Kingdom series, and I am so sad to say goodbye to this series. For those who don't know, Fallen Kingdom, basically there's one big country called Mythica, and it's broken down into 3 places: Uranos, Pelagia, and Limros, and they're all ruled by different people. But then in book 1, Fallen Kingdoms, the king of Limros and the chief of Pelagia band together to try to take over Uranos, and that is where our story kicks off, with the king of Limros, chief of Pelagia, trying to find the kindred spirits of fire, kindred water, earth, and air. And at first, when I began reading this, I was kind of scared to see how they were going to finish off the series in such a short book, but they packed so much information into this, and I absolutely loved it. The ending, I wish there would be a spin-off to this series. This was a 4 stars. The reason I gave it 4 and not 5 was because there were some moments that I felt the information didn't need to be there, that certain scenes didn't need to be there because it did not add to the story, it took away. But I did enjoy this, and this will be a favorite series of mine forever that I will continue to reread. And then the 10th and final book I read this month was With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. And I love this book. As you can see, I did tab up certain parts. The orange tabs were quotes that I absolutely loved, and then green was moments that I found really, really funny. This follows a girl named Imani, and she is from Philly. She is raised by her grandmother, and she is a teenage mother. She is in her senior year of high school, and her entire life she has had a passion for cooking. So her senior year, her having to balance having a kid, work, and school, and determining if she's going to actually go to college or not, because it would really just be her and her grandmother paying for it, because her mother died giving birth to her, and her father basically checked out and gave his daughter to his mother. And her senior year, the new culinary arts program opens up in her school. She goes for it and it teaches her her real love for it. We see her go through trials of school, of work, of family, of dealing with her baby daddy, dealing with the fact that she might be dating again. And I absolutely loved it because stuff like this does go on, and I love that Elizabeth Acevedo wrote about stuff that is currently going on in our world right now. And this was a 5 out of 5 stars and another favorite added to my favorites of 2019. But those are the 10 books that I read this month and I absolutely loved. Some of them I hated, some of them were alright. But I'll be leaving here 2 videos on I feel you guys should go check out. Don't forget I post Mondays and Thursdays. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And you guys will be seeing me on Thursday with my TBR.